On August 23rd, 2011, a magnitude 5.8 earthquake struck Virginia. The map behind me is showing all of the locations of people that reported feeling shaking from this earthquake. So it turns out that this magnitude 5.8 was felt by more people than any other earthquake in the history of North America, partially because this area is really densely populated and partially because of the properties of the crust on the East Coast. So East Coast earthquakes are felt on average over about a 10 times greater distance than similarly sized earthquakes on the West Coast. So you can see in this image I'm showing here, those green dots are people that felt the Mineral Virginia earthquake, which was a 5.8. And on the West Coast, those sort of yellow-orange dots are people that reported feeling shaking from the magnitude 6.0 Napa Valley earthquake. So even though the Napa Valley earthquake released about 2 times more energy than the Virginia earthquake, it was felt over shorter distances. So we're going to look now at a video showing the waves from the magnitude 5.8 crossing over seismic stations in North America. Okay, so this screen grab that I'm showing right now is showing the location of seismometers at that time. You can see there's a whole lot of them right here. Yeah, that's because there was an experiment going on at the time called the transportable array. This was 400 seismometers that were being kind of leapfrogged across the United States over the course of 15 years. And the idea here is it's sort of like pixels in a camera, like in a picture. So the more pixels you have, the better resolution you have. You can think of each one of these little seismometers as a pixel in the camera, right? And so the more pixels we have, the more seismometers we have, the better resolution we have into the earth. So this experiment was kind of like dragging an ultrasound wand across North America. It let us peer down into the subsurface. So that's why they're all right there. Let's watch that video. Each of those dots is a seismometer. When it turns red, that means the ground is moving up. And when it turns blue, that means the ground is moving down. By the time the waves reach places like Texas and California, they're too small to be felt by humans, but not too small to be measured by these sensitive seismic instruments. So this earthquake did do damage, about $2 to $3 million worth of property damage, especially around the area of the epicenter in Mineral Virginia, but also in places like Washington, D.C., where the Washington Monument and the National Cathedral were both damaged. So why earthquakes in Virginia? That seems strange. We're used to thinking about earthquakes in places like California, Washington, or Oregon. Those places are actually on the plate boundary. That's where most earthquakes happen because that's where the tectonic plates are coming together. So Virginia, North Carolina, all of the East Coast, these places are in the middle of the plate. So why are there earthquakes here? Well, there are faults all over the place. And most of the faults that are located on the East Coast are the result of past things like the collision that created the Appalachian Mountains. And even though the stress and strain isn't building up as quickly on the East Coast as it is on the West Coast, it is still building up slowly through time. And so we do have earthquakes here. In fact, Virginia has about an earthquake every single month. And once or twice a year, those earthquakes are going to be big enough for people to feel. There have been sort of moderate-sized earthquakes in the past. There was a magnitude 4.5 in 2003. There was another magnitude 5.8 in 1897. So earthquakes in Virginia are a thing. Earthquakes in the Midwest and East Coast, that's a thing. So if you feel earthquake shaking, drop down to the ground, take cover underneath a sturdy object, and hold on until all shaking is stopped. Please keep your hands and arms inside the ride at all times. Sorry, I don't mean to make light of it. I just say it all the time, right? Make sure you take protective action if you feel earthquake shaking. And you can feel shaking from an earthquake just about anywhere. So don't be scared. Just be prepared.